Have you ever sat down at your desk, opened your book, looked at the first page, and felt absolutely nothing? That pit in your stomach, that immediate, overwhelming urge to just check one notification, or maybe grab a coffee, or tidy your room. Anything at all, other than the thing you actually sat down to do. You know you need to study. You know you want the results. But the activation energy, that initial force required to get started, feels like climbing a mountain. Why is it so painful? Why does something as fundamentally beneficial as learning feel like torture, while scrolling through short clips feels like effortless joy? The answer, as with most things in modern productivity, lies in a tiny, powerful chemical in your brain: dopamine. We've all been told that dopamine is the feel-good reward chemical. But that's only half the story. Scientists now understand that dopamine's primary job isn't to make you feel good after the work is done. Its real role is to drive seeking behavior, to compel you to start the work. It's the engine of motivation. And if your engine is sputtering, it's because it's running on the wrong fuel. You've taught your brain to associate dopamine with instant, passive rewards. I used to struggle with this relentlessly. I'd spend an hour convincing myself to study for 20 minutes. It was exhausting. And what I discovered, a routine I call dopamine loading, completely reversed that equation. It made the act of sitting down to study feel almost effortless, even compelling. This isn't about some cheesy reward system where you eat a chocolate every time you finish a chapter. This is about scientifically hacking your brain's motivational circuit to make the process of preparation, and the first few minutes of study, the most dopamine-rich part of your day. In this video, I'm going to share the complete dopamine loading routine I developed. It consists of 4 distinct, counterintuitive steps. First, we'll talk about the 5-minute primer, how to trigger your motivation before you even touch a book. Second, we'll cover the principle of the zero-effort entry, eliminating the psychological barrier. Third, the concept of stacking micro-wins, using momentum to trick your brain into addiction. And finally, we'll discuss the critical role of dopamine fasting, the right way, to keep your baseline motivation high. By the end of this, you won't just know how to study. You'll know how to create an actual biochemical desire to get started. Let's begin. The biggest mistake we make is demanding instant focus from a cold start. We go from browsing social media to demanding intense concentration on abstract math. That gap is too wide. The 5-minute primer is your bridge. This is a deliberate, 5-minute routine designed to associate your study space with a subtle, low-intensity, positive feeling before any actual hard work begins. Here's what you do. Before opening your main textbook or turning on your work computer, spend 5 minutes doing something related to your studies that you genuinely find easy and engaging. This could be reviewing a previous successful project, skimming over a high-scoring essay, or a beautifully finished set of notes from last week. This is an immediate, low-effort hit of competence and accomplishment. You're telling your brain, I am good at this. Watching a short, high-energy educational video, 3 to 5 minutes max, on the exact topic you're about to study. Not a deep lecture, but an exciting summary or an engaging historical context. This stimulates curiosity, a huge dopamine trigger. Organizing your notes for 5 minutes while listening to a piece of music you love, but reserve only for this primer phase. This creates a ritualized, positive cue. Key here is low cognitive load, high emotional reward. We're not studying yet. We're priming the pump. You are literally loading the dopamine circuit by associating the study environment with success and curiosity, rather than dread and effort. I started doing this by just color-coding my flashcards for 5 minutes. It felt like fake work, but every time I did it, the transition into my main task became 10 times smoother. The famous Japanese concept of Kaizen is about continuous small improvements. We can apply this to motivation by making the first step ridiculously small, what I call the zero-effort entry. The activation energy for studying is often high because we subconsciously load too many tasks onto the starting line. We tell ourselves, I have to read Chapter 4, outline the chapter, and do the 20 practice problems. The brain rebels against that workload. The solution is to design a starting task that requires zero conscious choice. Before you finish your day, set up your desk so that the only thing you need to do is one single, predetermined, easy action. For example, don't say, "I'll read Chapter 3." Say, "I will read the first sentence of Chapter 3." Don't say, "I'll work on the essay." Say, "I will write the title of the essay and the date." If you're doing math problems, your zero-effort entry is simply writing down the first equation versus organized desk, calm stick figure. This is a trick used by Olympic athletes and successful CEOs alike. They ritualize the start. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on a pre-planned automatic sequence. When the task is that small, reading one sentence, the part of your brain that monitors effort says, "That's trivial. Go for it." And once you've done that one sentence, the momentum, the dopamine already released from acting, carries you to the next one, and the next. The secret, the hardest part, is starting. Make starting easy, and the rest follows. Okay, you've primed your brain, and you've overcome the starting hurdle. Now, how do you sustain the focus and turn that small start into a session you can actually get addicted to? We need to continuously feed the dopamine circuit with tangible, frequent rewards, but rewards that are internal, derived from competence, not consumption. This is stacking micro-wins. Instead of working for a huge 90-minute block and getting one dopamine hit at the end, the long break, we break the session into much smaller loops, each generating a reward. This is the principle behind the 35. Power study loop, 30 minutes of focused work. Choose a clear, distinct subtask, E, G. Define 5 key terms, or solve 3 practice problems. The 5-minute micro-win. After the 30 minutes, stop. Now spend 5 minutes on a study-related, high-satisfaction task. This is your micro-win. The micro-win is not checking your phone. It's mapping a relationship, drawing a quick, colorful mind map of the concepts you just learned, summarizing to an imaginary friend, recording a 60-second voice note explaining the last concept out loud, highlighting and annotating, turning your rough notes into clean, organized, visually appealing notes. The feeling of creating something clean, organized, and useful, the feeling of mastery, is an incredible, healthy dopamine hit. It's an internal reward tied directly to the learning process. You are rewarding the effort and the competence, not just the result. Every 35 loop you complete is a micro-win stacked upon the last, building psychological momentum. That feeling of flow you're chasing, it's just the accumulation of continuous, self-generated micro-rewards. All of this amazing loading routine is useless if your dopamine baseline is constantly being fried by hyperstimulation. Everyone talks about dopamine fasting, but most people do it wrong. They try to cut out everything and then binge the next day. The true, effective dopamine fasting is about reducing the frequency and intensity of passive, instant gratification. It's not about elimination, it's about recalibration. For 2 hours before your study session and during your breaks, you must protect your baseline. This means no scroll-based media. Avoid social media, short-form video, and infinite feed scrolling. These are engineered to provide maximum dopamine for minimum effort, and they desensitize your brain to the comparatively subtle rewards of learning. Replace with low dopamine activities. Your breaks or wind-down time should involve things that require slightly more effort, but provide a healthier, slower release of good feeling. Take a walk, do some gentle stretching, listen to a podcast at 1x speed. Look out the window and watch the clouds. Think of it like resetting your palate. If you've just eaten a super sweet candy, an apple tastes bland. But if you haven't had sugar all day, the apple is perfectly satisfying. When your baseline is lower, the subtle reward from finishing those 3 practice problems or understanding a complex theory becomes incredibly potent and motivates you to seek it out again. You are making studying the most rewarding activity on the menu. This system sounds elegant, but there are a few common pitfalls that can completely derail the dopamine loading process. You need to be aware of them. Pitfall 1. The lure of the high dopamine break. This is the most dangerous one. You finish your 30-minute focused session, you feel great, and you think, I deserve 10 minutes on my phone. Don't do it. The sudden spike and crash from social media will completely undo the micro-win you just stacked. Your brain will immediately reset its reward hierarchy, making the phone the top priority, and starting the next study session will feel like dragging a weight. Your 5-minute break is for low dopamine activities only. Pitfall 2. Over-complicating the primer. If your 5-minute primer turns into a 20-minute organizational binge or a deep dive into tangential topics, you've lost the point. The primer must be a warm-up, not the workout. Keep it light, quick, and solely focused on generating enthusiasm or a feeling of prior success. It's a spark, not a bonfire. Pitfall 3. Ignoring the bad days adjustment. On days when you're genuinely fatigued or ill, forcing the full routine will build an association of pain, not pleasure. The routine needs to be flexible. On truly low-energy days, your zero-effort entry might become your only task. Read one sentence, and if that's all you can do, accept the micro-win of having started and stop. The goal is consistency in starting, not perfection in duration. To recap, the dopamine loading routine isn't about willpower. It's about leveraging your brain's natural motivation system to make the start and the process of studying the most rewarding experience you can have. Here are your 4 actionable takeaways. The 5-minute primer. Before you start, spend 5 minutes doing a low-effort, high-satisfaction task related to your study, like reviewing past success, to preload curiosity and competence. The zero-effort entry. Reduce the activation energy by predetermining a ridiculously small starting task. Write one sentence. Solve one step. Start there. Stacking micro-wins. Break your work into 35 loops. Reward the 30 minutes of focus with a 5-minute internal reward, a mind map, a quick summary, or neat organizing. The real dopamine fasting. Protect your baseline motivation by ensuring all breaks are low dopamine activities. No scrolling, no hyperstimulation. By consistently applying this routine, you stop relying on fickle motivation and start building a biological habit. You are quite literally training your brain to get addicted to the sensation of focused work and competence. I know what it feels like to dread your desk. I know the guilt of procrastination. But you have to understand, your brain isn't broken. It's just wired for the path of least resistance. Our job is to rewire that path and make focused work the path of most reward. Don't wait until tomorrow to try this. Do your 5-minute primer right now, even if your task is just reading the back cover of a book. Start small, stack the win, and feel the momentum for yourself. If this routine sounds like the mental shift you needed, please hit the like button. It helps this information reach others who are also struggling with the motivation trap. And if you're serious about turning these hacks into a lifestyle, subscribe, because next week, we're going deeper into the science of deep work scheduling, how to protect your prime focus hours from constant interruption. You're capable of the work. Now, let's make sure your brain is eager to do it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.